He was the face of darkness and charm. A villain we loved, a hero we misunderstood. For decades, Julian McMahon lived in our screens, but his final performance happened off-camera, in silence. No press, no farewell tour. Just a man, slowly disappearing. And when the world finally noticed, he was already gone. This is not a scandal. This is not fiction. This is the true story of a quiet farewell. The camera pans across a faded photo of a young boy in a school blazer, his eyes fixed on something distant, unspoken. That boy, Julian Dana William McMahon, will one day captivate millions. But his story begins in the long shadow of political power. Born on July 27, 1968, in Sydney, Australia, he is the son of Sir William McMahon, the 20th Prime Minister of Australia, and Lady Sonia McMahon, a socialite and fashion icon. From the beginning, Julian is not just someone's child. He is a national headline before he ever speaks a line of dialogue. The expectations weigh heavy. Raised amidst public scrutiny, Julian grows up surrounded by photographers, political strategists, and whispered expectations. His father, distant and disciplined, sees only one path forward: law, politics, or finance. But Julian has other plans. He drifts from Sydney Grammar to the University of Sydney, flirting with law, then switching to economics. None of it sticks. What does stick is the camera lens. He leaves school to model. Paris, Milan, New York. He becomes the face of Calvin Klein and Levi's in the early 90s. His sharp cheekbones and brooding eyes drawing comparisons to James Dean. But even then, there's something elusive about him. Julian was always a little bit somewhere else, a former model once said in an off-camera interview. He looked right at you, but it felt like he was seeing past everything. In 1989, Julian makes the leap to acting. His first major role is on the Australian soap opera Home and Away. The transition is rocky. Critics call him too pretty, emotionally distant, more model than actor. But Hollywood notices. Soon, he's in Los Angeles, screen testing. For bigger roles, in 2000, everything changes. He is cast as Cole Turner in Charmed, playing a half-demon who falls in love with a witch. It's a breakout role, one that fuses his dark allure with emotional complexity. Fans are obsessed. Tumblr threads and fan fiction paint him as the ultimate tragic villain. Cole becomes iconic, and so does Julian. But success brings its own kind of burden. In 2003, he takes on Dr. Christian Troy in Nip Tuck. This isn't just another pretty face role. Christian is manipulative, self-destructive, charismatic, deeply broken. Julian dives in with brutal precision. The show is provocative, graphic, and emotionally raw. For the first time, critics take him seriously. It was like watching someone peel back their skinny, emotionally co-star, Dylan Walsh once remarked. There were scenes where I didn't know if Julian was acting or if we were seeing something real bleed through. Julian never confirms or denies. That's his way. Reserved, polished, slightly removed by the late 2000s. He's cast as Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four franchise. The role cements his place in pop culture. He's now part of the Marvel pantheon, though fans remain divided. Some love his operatic take on the villain. Others find it too restrained. Julian says little, even when criticized. He simply moves on. He marries briefly Weiss. Once to Dannii Minogue, sister of Kylie, and then to actress Brooke Burns. Both marriages are short-lived. The tabloids sniff around for drama, but find none. Julian remains a mystery, always just outside the frame. By 2015, the buzz starts to fade. He appears in Profiler, Runaways, and a few indie films, but none regain the cultural traction of Nip Tuck or Charmed. Offers slow down. Red carpet appearances become rare. Paparazzi photos show a man aging gracefully, but more withdrawn. There's no scandal. No public fall from grace. Just ... Silence. In 2021, he gives an interview to a small Australian outlet. The reporter asks, "What's next?" Julian pauses, smiles faintly, and says, "Less of everything, I think. More time with my wife. More quiet." It's a rare moment of candor, but also a clue, because behind the scenes, something is changing. He begins turning down roles not for scheduling conflicts, but due to health reasons, sources claim. Others in the industry whisper about fatigue, about looking tired, about disappearing between sets. His agent denies any serious illness. His wife, Kelly Paniagua, says nothing at all. But friends, those few still close, notice something else. He stops showing up at events. He turns down interviews. Even his social media, never very active, goes completely dark. He pulled away, one colleague notes. He wasn't hiding, he just ... stopped being visible, like a light dimming slowly. Over time, and yet the image of him endures. The arched eyebrow, the intense stare, the chilling confidence of Christian Troy, the tortured heart of Cole Turner. These roles, so powerful, so consuming, become part of Julian's myth. They're not just characters, they're fragments. Fragments of a man no one truly knew as the curtain begins to lower on his public life. No one realizes they are witnessing the last act. No tabloids scream. No press conference is held. No headline announces the retreat. Just a quiet absence, slow, deliberate, and absolute. And behind that silence, something grows, something ominous, something final. Because Julian McMahon isn't just leaving the spotlight. He is hiding something far more permanent. A secret only time will reveal. And when it does, the world won't be ready. The silence deepens. Julian McMahon, once so omnipresent on screens, magazine covers, fan conventions, is now more rumor than reality. In the vacuum left by his withdrawal, whispers begin to fill the void. The industry starts asking quiet questions, not tabloid questions, deeper ones. Where is Julian? Is he okay? The last time most fans see him in public is during a charity event in early 2024. He walks the red carpet with Kelly Paniagua, his wife since 2014. He smiles for photos, answers a few questions with typical poise. But those who know him really know him see something beneath the tailored suit and familiar charm. He's thinner, pale. The smile is softer, almost distant. His voice lacks the usual edge. That night, a journalist from Variety describes him as elegant as always, but faintly translucent. Nobody publishes that quote. It's cut during edits, but it lingers. After that event, he disappears again. His name drops off casting rumors, off agent rosters. IMDb shows no new projects. Former co-stars reach out and get no reply. He just ghosted. One fellow actor confesses. No drama. No goodbye. Like he wanted to fold himself into the wind. But this is not retirement. There are no social media announcements, no interviews with glossy magazines about leaving Hollywood behind. No relocation to a villa in Tuscany. Instead, there's absence, controlled, absolute, as if he were trying to write himself out of the narrative before anyone noticed. Behind closed doors, Julian battles something far more insidious than burnout or disillusionment. Cancer, it's a word that will only be revealed later, too late for headlines, too late for proper goodbyes. He tells very few. Even his closest circle is reportedly unaware of the full extent. He moves with the discretion of a man determined to protect his privacy, even at the cost of legacy. His wife knows. That much is certain, sources say she stands by him, always present during appointments, shielding him from public attention with fierce loyalty. They travel frequently in the final year, Florida, Colorado, remote parts of Australia, not for work, not for leisure, For treatment, at one point, a nurse in a Clearwater clinic, who later chooses to remain anonymous, remembers seeing him. Couldn't believe it. I recognized him right away. But he looked, ... not like Julian. He looked like someone wearing Julian's face. He still signs autographs when asked. Always polite, always gracious, but he no longer lingers. No jokes, no charm offensive. Just a nod, a smile, and the gentle retreat of a man slipping through time. He refuses interviews, cancels all public appearances, and even declines tribute. Invitations. When Charmed announces a 25-year reunion special, Julian is the only major cast member who declines outright no statement, no explanation. Fans speculate, rumors fly, depression, religious retreat, quiet retirement. None of them are right, but none are entirely wrong either, because this is a retreat. But it's the kind that doesn't end in late May 2025. He is admitted to a medical facility in Clearwater, Florida. Not a hospital too public, private care center, anonymous, hidden. By now, he's lost significant weight. His hair, once thick and styled to perfection, is thinner. He wears sunglasses indoors. He walks with assistance. Still, no press, no leaks. The silence is impenetrable. As if the world agrees consciously or not to let him fade untouched. Only Kelly remains a constant presence, day after day, night after night. She's seen helping him walk, holding his hand during injections, answering for him when words become difficult. In the industry, a few trusted friends begin to hear murmurs. Dylan Walsh, his nip-tuck co-star, receives a brief call in early June. Julian's voice is weak but steady. He doesn't say goodbye. He talks about a scene they shot 20 years ago, just one scene. The monologue in the empty operating room. "I still think about that one," Julian says. That was real. And then he hangs up. Dylan doesn't. Call back, he knows better. Elsewhere, a small fan group dedicated to Cole Turner on Reddit notices something eerie. Ahmad posts, "Has anyone noticed that Julian hasn't been seen in months? His IMDb page hasn't moved. This feels ... different." The post gets a few replies, but quickly disappears into the thread churn of digital conversation. That's the thing with vanishing acts. They happen slowly, then all at once. At this point, Julian hasn't posted online in over 2 years. His verified Instagram page remains intact but dormant. The last photo is a blurry shot of a coastline, no caption. Some fans believe it's Byron Bay. Others think it's the coast of California. Either way, it's an ending. A digital whisper. He stops taking calls. His agent resigns quietly. One director, trying to reach him for a minor role in an indie film, is told Julian is not available indefinitely. No elaboration, no voice. But there are still clues. Unspoken markers of a private war. A sudden real estate sale in Santa Monica. A closed charitable foundation in his name. Legal documents filed in his wife's name in June. Discreet, clinical, permanent. It's as if Julian is erasing his footprints before the tide comes in. The press doesn't notice, or doesn't care. In a world obsessed with scandal and spectacle, Julian's retreat is too quiet, too dignified, too real. But there's one person who sees through all of it: his mother. Sonia passed away in 2010, but in one of her last interviews, she said Julian's greatest strength is also his greatest danger. He feels everything, but he shows nothing. Now, years later, that quote feels prophetic, because Julian is feeling everything: the pain, the decline, the goodbyes he never says. But he shows none of it. Not to fans, not to Hollywood, not even to himself. And so, as the world spins on, as the cameras search for younger faces, as red carpets bloom without him, Julian McMahon drifts further into the shadows. Not forgotten, but untraceable, and in the stillness of that silence. Something waits. Not death, not yet, but the moment before. The breath before the fall. The world wakes to the news like a sudden rupture in the middle of an ordinary day. There is no lead-up, no leaked reports, no anonymous sources softening the blow. Just a stark, unexpected headline. Julian McMahon dead at 56. No tabloid flourish. No clickbait embellishment. Just 6 words that ripple through the internet, across newsrooms, and deep into the hearts of longtime fans. At first, disbelief. The statement comes from his wife, Kelly Peniaga. It's brief, beautifully worded, and painfully final. My beloved husband, Julian, passed away peacefully in Clearwater, Florida, after a long and private battle with cancer. He was brave, gracious, and deeply loved. He did not want his illness to define him, and it never did. There are no further details, no funeral date, no memorial service plans. Only the sound of the world trying to process the sudden absence of someone who had already quietly slipped away. News outlets scramble. The Hollywood Reporter, People, Variety, and Deadline all rush to confirm the story. Within hours, tributes begin flooding in, some from colleagues, others from stunned fans. Clips of Nip Tuck resurface, especially the harrowing scene in which Christian Troy confronts his own mortality. In hindsight, it feels like foreshadowing. One line circulates widely online. You think dying is the worst part? Dying is easy. It's being forgotten that scares me. Christian Troy said it, but now belongs to Julian. Dylan Walsh posts a single photo. The two of them laughing on set, hands clasped, mid-scene. No caption. He later releases a short statement. This time, you've gone too far, partner. I'll never be able to look at that damn scalpel again without hearing your voice. The internet responds in waves. Fans from the late 90s and early 2000s resurface, sharing stories about how Cole Turner made them believe villains could have hearts, or how Christian Troy exposed the fragile masculinity of a generation. Others recall seeing Julian at conventions, kind, reserved, almost bashful when complimented. But there's an undertone regret because no one knew. Or if they did, they said nothing. There were no trending hashtags about his health, no campaigns for awareness, no final interviews. Just a man walking into the end of his life without the world ever noticing he was on his way there. A week later, TMZ releases a photo. It's grainy, taken from a distance, a glimpse of Julian in Clearwater, just weeks before his death. He's seated on a bench near the water, a wool cap pulled over his head, hands in his pockets. He's looking out at the horizon. The headline reads, Julian's Last Walk. It's meant to honor him, but it stings. Fans question the ethics. Why now? Why dig into the final private moments of a man who chose silence over spectacle? But they click, they read, they mourn. The mystery only deepens. Speculation surges. What kind of cancer? When was he diagnosed? Was it curable? Did he refuse treatment? No answers come. Kelly remains silent, honoring the wish Julian made clear before. The end? No drama, no disclosure, no spotlight. A close friend, speaking anonymously, shares that Julian refused end-of-life interviews. He didn't want a documentary made about his decline. No farewell tour. No goodbye, Julian cover stories. He didn't want people remembering him for what he couldn't do anymore. The friend says he wanted to disappear before the disease took away his face. It's a haunting thought. In a culture obsessed with transformation and exposure, Julian chose vanishing, while others documented every chemo session, every hospital visit, every tear-streaked update. Julian did the opposite. He protected his image the way an artist protects a final brushstroke. And yet, doesn't feel selfish. It feels ... sacred. In the weeks following his death, fans revisit his performances with new eyes. They search for signs: tired eyes, drawn cheeks, slumped posture. But the roles hold. The illusions remain intact. Julian had acted right up until the end, not on screen, but in life. Every smile at the grocery store, every polite nod at a cafe, every wave to a fan, an act of grace beneath the weight of dying. One fan on X, formerly Twitter, posts, "We didn't know, but maybe we weren't supposed to." Maybe that was his gift, letting us remember him strong, whole, and alive. Another responds, "Or maybe ... we failed him. Maybe we should have seen." The debate flickers, then fades. There is no scandal, no estate battle, no posthumous drama. His will is clean. His assets divided quietly. His body cremated per his wishes. Ashes scattered somewhere unnamed. His wife disappears from public view. A single message remains on his dormant Instagram, posted days after his passing. It's an old quote, white text on black. "The soul that sees beauty may sometimes walk alone." Girton, no attribution. No comment section, just the words, floating in the void. In Clearwater, a bench near the water is adorned with flowers. Not officially, not sanctioned by any city or park authority. Just fans, locals, people who read the TMZ piece and found the spot. Photos of Julian appear. Candles, handwritten notes. One reads, "You saved me with your characters. You haunted me with your silence. Thank you for both." Still, questions linger. Not just about the illness, but about the choice to go quietly, to leave no trace. Was it fear, pride, control, or something deeper? Did Julian believe that death, like life, should be a performance? If so, it was his finest. No encore. No curtain. Call dot, only an empty stage, an applause that never ends. The world moves on, as it always does. A month after Julian McMahon's death, the headlines begin to quiet. New scandals, new stars, new stories crowd the front page. The entertainment machine churns forward. But for those who knew him, who felt connected to his work, the silence left behind is not empty. It echoes in fan forums and private Facebook groups. Tributes still flow, not the loud, performative kind. These are quieter, more personal. Stories of people who found solace in his characters, who saw reflections of their own struggles in Cole Turner's torment, in Christian Troy's hollow confidence. People who were shaped by a man who never truly let the world in and who, perhaps because of that, became whoever they needed him to be. One message stands out, posted by a woman named Elise from Toronto. "I was 16 when I first saw him in Charmed. I'd just lost my dad. I used to sneak episodes after midnight. Cole was broken and angry and lost, and I related. I think he saved my life. I never got to tell him that, but maybe he didn't need to hear it. Maybe he knew." That idea resonates because in some quiet, private way, it becomes clear that Julian McMahon didn't need to be told he mattered. He knew it in the way he moved through the world, quietly, deliberately, without seeking applause. Weeks later, Dylan Walsh appears on a podcast, Behind the Lines, hosted by a fellow TV actor. He rarely gives interviews, especially since Nip Tuck ended. But this one feels different. He doesn't cry. He doesn't dramatize, but his voice cracks once. "We had this scene in season 4, Dylan says. Christian's on the floor. He's done. Just beaten emotionally. And Julian leaned over after the take and whispered, "You know, this isn't really acting." I asked what he meant. He just smiled and walked off. The host doesn't press. He doesn't need to. The implication is clear. Some roles cut deeper than others. Some scenes are not fictional. And some pain, the kind Julian carried, was never scripted. years later. Those words will resurface. Fans will quote them. TikToks will dramatize them. But in that moment, they land with the weight of truth. Meanwhile, Kelly Paniagua, Julian's widow, resurfaces briefly in a written statement. It appears on a private foundation page dedicated to cancer research, started anonymously but quickly linked to her. The message is heartfelt. Julian believed in living with dignity. He didn't want pity. He didn't want to inspire sadness. But he did want his silence to mean something. So let it. Let it be a reminder that even those who seem untouchable suffer quietly. Let it be a call to kindness, especially toward those you think are doing just fine. There's no photo attached, no press release, just the message. And then, like him, she vanishes. Hollywood eventually begins to reckon with his legacy. Retrospectives appear. Entertainment Weekly does a feature titled The Roles That Haunted Us. Julian McMahon's top 10 performances. Nip Tuck is briefly added back to Netflix with a memorial banner. Charmed releases a cast tribute video, with clips interspersed with emotional commentary from the remaining actors. Alyssa Milano, who played Phoebe Halliwell-Cole. Turner's star-crossed lover says it best. Julian had this ability to make pain look noble. You couldn't help but want to save him. And the truth is, maybe nobody could. Maybe that's the tragedy of it all. The words hang, because what no one says outright, but everyone feels, is this. Julian didn't want to be saved. He wanted to disappear on his own terms, to rewrite the ending, and perhaps he did. There's a theory, circulated in fan circles and whispered like a ghost story, that Julian orchestrated his final year like a script. That the vanishing act, the quiet goodbye, the poetic timing of his death just days before his birthday, was all intentional. That he wanted to end not in decay, but in mystery. As if Julian McMahon was less a man and more a story he told so well. He simply slipped into the last chapter without us noticing. And that's the thing about stories. They don't die when the writer does. They echo in streaming marathons, in quotes etched on fan tattoos, in late-night rewatches when the world feels heavy, in the nervous energy of a young actor inspired by Christian Troy's razor-edge charisma, in the quiet pride of a closeted teen who saw himself in Cole's doomed love. They echo in the silence Julian left behind. He never wanted his death to be a spectacle, but he couldn't stop it from becoming a mirror, a reminder that beneath the lights, the roles, the perfect hair, and devilish smile, there was always something darker, something real, something human. The final truth of Julian McMahon isn't in the cancer he fought, or the roles he played, or the red carpets he walked. It's in the space he occupies now, not in photos, but in memory, not in fame, but in feeling, and that may be the greatest performance of all. As one fan writes beneath an old interview clip on YouTube, "I didn't cry when he died. I cried because I didn't realize he was already gone." The video ends not with a quote, not with applause, just a slow fade to black dot and the sound of waves, soft, unrelenting, like a soul walking alone, but never lost.